essentially we just tried things that weren't the right direction, but we tried.
What was the win like compared to yesterday?
I didn't drive yesterday.
So Saturday?
Huh? Ready to start?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, Simon. Hi, Simon. How you doing? Good. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. I haven't seen you. Believe that Max Chilton will join us in just a little bit, but Simon Pagenaud and James Davison are here. We've got the defending series champion, probably carrying that number 1 on the car, which is really cool, I might add. And then James, I suspect this wasn't in your planner, and suddenly you find yourself tooling around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I heard you informally chatting and saying, tried some things early that didn't seem to work, and a little bit tricky out there, but why don't you tell us about it?
Yeah, sure. Well, it was my plan to be in the race this year, but as we're aware, there's a limited supply of engines and chassis, so someone's got to miss out. And a lot of us didn't see the Alonso thing coming, and that took an engine away from even Stefan or I. Anyhow, so I knew there was a possibility someone can get hurt, right? But you never wish for that, so you're around the paddock in case something does happen and you're there. Surely enough, it happened, and I kind of couldn't believe it. I mean, especially with Dale Coyne's team that I've driven for the last time I did the 500. So, yeah, it was yesterday I didn't know what to think. It was just such mixed emotions to be able to get the opportunity to drive in the race, but such unfortunate circumstances. So, yeah, thoughts are obviously with Sebastian and Claire. And, the series needs him back. For today, look, straight up, we're running a road course backup car. We knew we weren't going to be particularly quick, but we just needed to try and get the car to handle well. With a lot of cars in front of us, obviously, we're starting 33rd. So, yeah, we tried a number of things as the day went on, and I would say it wasn't the right direction, but, we're smarter from it now. So, we'll just try and go another step forward with the car on carb day. And, yeah, we're all aware of what our situation is here. It's obviously very compromised, and we've just got to do the best we can with it and keep the car in one piece. There's no spares, anything like that. There is no excuses for doing anything negligent. So, yeah, just sticking with the program and just having to be patient.
That's what a professional driver does, no question. Simon, I was down on the grid yesterday. We get quotes after qualifying, and I made the joke that at least 2/3 of the people who we interview are going to say, it's unfortunately not the speed we were looking for, but I think our car has good balance, and we're going to have a good car come race day. And it's a 500-mile race, and you can win from everywhere. We've heard that one a few times.
It's pretty much that boring. It is.
Well, and it's true. So when today, I mean, is it still a search for more speed? Was it a search for more balance? Do you think there's something missing? I mean, where were you at with today?
It's a great comment, actually. I always complain that we always say the same things. But, unfortunately, no, we didn't have the speed in quali. We haven't had the speed last week at all to compete. So it was very unfortunate and a bit of a mystery. But like I said yesterday, it's the mysteries of Indianapolis sometimes. So it makes this place so legendary, I guess. But we made a lot of changes last night. Mostly on, obviously body work because it's a different package than qualifying, and also a new engine to go for the race. And it's a weapon that engine they put in there. They put a new engine that's really strong, and Chevy did a tremendous job with calibration. And I felt like my race car was very good last week, and we showed it today. I think in the heat. It actually gets really good in traffic. I can run with people, and I think it's an exciting race. There's definitely a big a big competition between Honda and Chevy. Honda's done a very strong job at bringing a strong engine and aero, but we have what we need, I think, to have a strong race. And again, it's 500 miles, so a lot can happen.
Max joined us, and I made the comment to some journalists who came up that, you know, you're about mid-pack, fifth row, remember right, in your qualifying. But I said, this guy's been solid, it seems to me, really all month long, that you've ran really well and really consistently, and this was a last chance to get out there. How about your day? How did it go?
Yeah, first of all, thank you and hello. Yeah, it was a good day. It flew by. Obviously, it wasn't a normal 6-hour session. It was a reduced session. So I was in the car all for most of it, apart from visiting the little boys' room for 10 minutes. And then, yeah, just cracked on and tried to get as many laps in as possible, because the more laps you do around here, the more you learn. And I don't think anyone out there is overly happy with their car in race traffic, so you just keep trying to learn and try and get it better. And I started to stop fighting that and just trying to find ways to drive around it. And actually, in clean air, I seem to be pretty competitive. In dirty air, I was getting there. I started to learn how to time the moves. So yeah, great to have Ganassi at the top again. It was great to see Scott get that yesterday. He fully deserved that. And yeah, it was nice to get to learn this track more in proper group running, because we do a bit of group running on the week to build up to it, but it doesn't last very long until people peel off. But today, everyone sort of was just getting on with it and learning what they had for the 500.
Very good. Questions?
James, can you talk about not being in IndyCar for a year and cracking off almost 220 miles an hour straight out of the box? And second, you're out there in your road course trim car. Is there any work you guys can do between now and carb day to massage a little bit more towards speedway so you can do more than 223s?
Yeah, well, it's actually been 2 years because I missed the 100th last year. Yeah, to be honest, you know, you do this race once, you know what to expect. The cars are always going to be set up with a lot of downforce, and the sticker Firestone tyres just phenomenal. You go out of the pits and you nearly want to go flat first time into turn 3, having not been in the car for 2 years. So it was no issue, yeah, being flat by lap 2 or 3 this morning, or early this afternoon. Yeah, in regard to what we can do with our you know, the state of our road course package, to be honest, I'm unsure. I actually asked that question when we took a break in the middle of the practice today, and yeah, I didn't really get an answer, to be honest. The engineers were just focusing on what we can do to get the handling in the window. So I'm sure there's something we can do, but you know, it can't be too big. As we know, a lot of these teams spend, especially, yeah, my team, they spent months massaging the gearbox and uprights and getting the friction reduction done and the body fit right, in addition to the engineering. And yeah, obviously Sebastian's crash, you know, that all went out the window. And you know, you've seen it in the past when I think Ed Carpenter's wrecked in early morning qualifying probably 2 years ago, and he gets out of the car and you can see he's more upset about the state of his race car, that it can potentially win the race, because he knows their best foot's yeah, behind them. So yeah, just one of those things. We're just going to have to do the best with what we got.
Max, over here. This time last year, you had only driven one oval race. Your engineer has also been similarly new. Now that you've had a year of continuity, even though the package is different, what do you kind of know now about this place that you didn't know this time last year?
It's difficult. I still feel like I'm a rookie. Yeah, I'm still learning a lot. Every time I get on track, I'm learning. And I think that's, you know, it's the case with anything. You know, Tony and Scott, they've been doing this 15 or 20 years for Tony. And, you know, they're still learning. Tony always says he comes back here and every year he treats it like he's never been here before, because it's always so different. And I get what he means, because it is different every time. You never come back here with the same setup and it works, and sometimes day to day the same setup doesn't work. So I'm just learning the feedback. You know, it's all very small movements. You're moving the wheel a tiny amount, and you're lifting a pedal if you are lifting it a tiny amount, but you're learning all the cues, and sometimes you feel like the rear's moving, but it's not really. So it's just getting comfortable with the situation. Today was a good day for that, and yeah, thankful for Ganassi having a strong car here, and hopefully we can get it all right in the 500. It's a long race. That's one thing I definitely do know. Having Dario as my mentor, he told me a number of times he obviously, I think he started at the back one year and won the race, and I think he was started at the front, had problems, went to the back sort of halfway through the race, and then still came through to the front. So it's not over until the fat lady sings.
For Max and Simon, I know there's no such thing as being comfortable going around this track at over 220 miles an hour, but did it feel any less being on edge, knowing that you weren't on your qualifying setup, that you were more on your race setup, not quite as trimmed out?
For me, I actually feel like in traffic it's more daunting than it was yesterday. Like yesterday, my first 2 laps were competitive to be in the top 5 or 6, and I didn't know what speed I was doing. I looked down on the third or second end of the second lap coming across the start line, and it said 2:31.4, and I thought, wow, we're actually cracking on here. It didn't feel overly fast; it just felt right until it goes wrong at turn 2. I had to back out. But today, when you're sort of on a balancing act behind another car, it actually feels a little bit quicker. So I was quite surprised to hear James say he came out of the pits after 2 years and wanted to go flat into turn 3, because I definitely wouldn't want to do that. But you know, everyone's different and everyone feels things in a different way.
James, could you clarify when you say your team doesn't have all the parts that you'd like to have for this race? Do you have a super speedway front and rear wing, or is it the side pods? I mean, what part are you missing?
No, I mean, obviously we have, an oval car. It's just what makes these cars quick here. Obviously, you got to have handling, and then you got to have straight line speed. So the body fit and the work that the teams do to reduce friction in the gearbox and uprights, all the rotating parts on the car. It's a huge process that a lot of these teams put in, and clearly you saw how quick Sebastian was in qualifying or this last week. And yeah, teams have primary cars, and it's been a tough run for the team. Obviously at Phoenix and here they've lost 2 cars, so all that was left was a road course, gearbox and uprights and all that kind of stuff. So. And the body fit, I mean, we just had, brand new Dallara side pods on the car with no body fit done. So, we're kind of pulling a bit of a parachute. So obviously we can only just try and make the car handle as well as we can. And what terminal velocity we're going to have is what we're stuck with. So, just the way it is. We're all aware what the situation is.
Simon, can you talk a little bit about the weather? Because the wind obviously was a big factor yesterday. But just generally speaking, how do you anticipate it? How does it work in terms of, from day to day, obviously it changes, and obviously on the Sunday you can go from one extreme to another, whether it rains or not. But just in the wind factor, how much time do you have to react, and how much anticipation of where the breeze is do you work on?
Yeah, it's a really good question. It's something you adjust to every corners, and every lap you have to watch the flags, especially the orange flag up top on the pagoda, I guess. I don't know where it is. I know where it is from the track, but and depending, it's I believe it's a 25 mile an hour socket. So so if it's straight, that means you have a 25 mile an hour gust. And I check every laps, every corners where it's going, so I can adjust. But I'm one of those drivers who adjust every corners. Some drivers don't, but again, like Max said, it very much depends on your feel and what you like. I personally adjust every corners, whether it's the anti-roll bars or the weight jacker, to just have the car where I want it to be, and no surprise. That's the biggest thing. But it's very difficult in qualifying because you're already very much on the edge of grip. You enter the corner sitting on the right rear. The car is sliding. Any movement with the steering wheel is going to point you either the right way or the wrong way. And any gust of wind is going to have a big effect on the balance of the car. So it's quite tricky, especially when you're so low on downforce to go for the pole, for example. It's in a constant adjustment every corners of every lap, and those 4 laps in qualifying feels like forever. So yeah, it's an interesting challenge. In the race, you adjust more to the car in front of you, depending what the guy is running. how much air you're losing, and where the wind is pointing toward your nose or not. So it's but again, you can set your car up with the wind change. It's like Max said again. It's you learn these tricks every year, and you learn more every year.
Max, you said there was an issue yesterday going into turn 2. I was wondering if you could elaborate on that, because there have been so many issues with turn 2 this year.
So this track is made it's meant to be the same either end and the same banking, but I think every driver would admit every corner feels very, very different. And I've got this, I had a shunt there last year at turn 2. Doesn't mean I don't like that corner, but to me, I'd say that's the hardest corner on this track. 3 and 4 usually feel pretty easy. Turn 1 is daunting because it's just the first one. Turn 2, there's something about it. It's usually sort of into the wind as well. The rear is usually quite light there, so if there's a strong wind, it grabs the front, sends the rear out. Yesterday, I was flat for 2 laps, 2:31.4, 2:31.1, and then I went in there. Turn 1 was fine. Turn 2, I literally turned the wheel and the thing just took off, and I just dumped the throttle. And tiny change in wind made me completely have to come out the throttle. And I think, well, I just missed the wall by an inch. I thought I'd actually touched it, but I got away with it. So it's tiny things make the difference. Some days the wind is sort of behind you there, and it goes in nice, but then you lose the rear on the exit. So it's just tiny little differences. To me, turn 2 is the hardest corner, especially on your own in clean air and to follow. But sometimes it depends on the way your car is set up.
Simon, I know you've only been with Penske a couple years, but I'd like to know the reaction of Roger, except for Will, all you guys starting in the back of the pack.
Yeah, it's my third year with Penske. I don't think Roger is happy if he's not winning. I think that's the whole mentality of Penske, Team Penske. I think this team is working countless hours. We have people at the shop right now, understanding how this practice just went to try to be better next one. It's incredible. It's a factory, and it's always booming. So we're not here to be second, third, or fourth. The goal is to win races, and that's why Roger brought 5 cars this month. It's because his love of Indy is huge. So we don't, the qualifying effort is not satisfying. But it is what it is at the end of the day. There's competition here. It's very strong. There are very good teams, very good manufacturers, and it's the beauty of it. Some days you dominate, some days you don't. It's your job to understand why and get better. I think that's the lesson that everybody learns every time we go to the racetrack. It's a very humbling job in many ways.
Simon, it's been a weird year because you've had 5 top 5s, you're leading the points, you got your first oval win, and yet somehow, compared to last year, we had the ridiculous start. Does it feel like there's less pressure now? Does it almost feel like you're kind of flying under the radar? What's kind of your state of mind in relation to how your season's gone versus what this race would do for you?
It's interesting. We've had everything go right last year at the beginning of the year. A bit of luck, a bit of everything went right. So it's different this year. We've had everything go wrong. But despite that, we're still, I guess, not leading the championship since Scott has got the pole. But still there. We're still second, I guess. So, it's still a very good effort. I think a lot of guys would like to be in my position. So, you can complain as much as you want. But at the end of the day, it's about working together as a team. It's the same people, same drivers, same engineers, same strategists, same mechanics. It's just sometimes it smiles, sometimes it doesn't. I'm sure it will smile back, and when it does, hopefully the others will be very worried.
Well, gentlemen, from a group of people who never plan on going flat out in 1, 2, 3, or 4, thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you.